I recently was diagnosed as someone who has autism spectrum disorder, which is very difficult to identify in Black women because of racism.
So what exactly is autism spectrum? Because I hear people say you're on the spectrum.
It used to be called Asperger's.
Okay.
But that is no longer what it's called because to my knowledge, Asperger was a Nazi.
All right, guys, we got to talk about this pretty wild interview between Shannon Sharpe and Amanda Seales. Now, I'm pretty sure all you guys know who Shannon Sharpe is, okay? So I don't have to explain who he is. Everybody knows he's an NFL player turned sports commentator on First Take. And you have Amanda Seales, who most of you guys are probably not familiar with. She's a woke Hollywood actress. I think she's more of a comedian now. Honestly, I don't know that much about her. All I know is that she seems to be an extremely crazy person, right, who has an enormous victimhood complex that we have to talk about and discuss because it shows up during this interview with Shannon Sharpe. And Shannon Sharpe, who, in my opinion, is pretty woke, okay? He gives a lot of woke takes when he's doing his sports commentary. He seems like the voice of reason during this conversation with Amanda Seales, in which she is boohoo, whining, and crying about the alleged racism that she experienced as a child. Like, for example, she talked about how she was called an N-word by some of her peers when she was 12 years old, but yet she's a grown woman still boohoo, whining, and crying about it.
So when I was at Disney,
yes,
and I was in the situation at Disney, I was there as the only Black girl, and there was a whole crew. It's like 12 of us. And so I was called an N-word right there while I was there. And I was also bullied while I was there because I was told that you're only here because you're Black. You can't really dance. You're just here because you're Black. So don't get any ideas. So that's what I'm being told by the other children. Does that suffice as racist to you, or would you want to call it something else? Is that just kids being mean?
The kids. So let me ask you a question. As a child, you never said anything derogatory? You was just this model citizen as a child? I mean, children. Now, we're talking children, not functioning adults. Now, if you told me the adults, parents were telling you this, or the execs or people that are in charge of Disney are telling you this, I could agree with it. But at 89, you're probably 8, 9 years of age. Maybe younger.
So you have no problem with the children that were cursing out Ruby Bridges and the Little Rock Nine? You think do you think that was just them being kids?
Two things can be true. Kids can be kids and not function as an adult, and things can be wrong. And sometimes when kids say things, they're repeating what they heard their parents say. They don't know it's wrong.
So what about the children who are receiving it that know it's wrong? Does that not matter?
Yes.
So if I'm 10 and I'm receiving that treatment and I know it's wrong, does it make my experience of it less? It doesn't make it any less valid. No. So that's what we're here to talk about. My experience.
Yes.
So my experience is that I experienced that and it was difficult. So that's the valid part of this. I'm not here to protect those people because it's irrelevant.
Yeah. So again, the point of this video, I want people to understand, is just to display just how much some of these people who are very successful in life, okay? I mean, you could argue that somebody like her is very blessed to be in a position that she's in, but yet, again, she's a grown woman that is crying about something that happened to her as a child where you had kids allegedly call her the N-word. And I'm not saying that didn't happen. I don't know. However, I do have doubts about the story, but maybe it did, maybe it didn't happen. I don't think that's much different, though, than what the average child experiences growing up, okay? I mean, I think that every child experiences some form of bullying or being picked on or somebody saying something mean to them, other children saying mean things to them growing up. I can't even begin to tell you guys all the mean things that were said amongst my peers growing up, okay? All the mean things that we said to each other were so distasteful that honestly, I wouldn't be comfortable saying it, right? Because, man, we were doing things like talking about each other's dead relatives, saying all types of messed up things to each other. But that's what kids do, right? And it's not just a black-white thing. In fact, I would say most of the experiences I had in regards to people saying mean things to me were from other black kids, okay? I mean, there were black children that said mean things to me that were much worse than anything that I ever heard from a white child, okay? I'm just saying that's just kind of how it goes. It's not really racial as much as just that's what kids do, right? And I'm not even saying that it's right. I'm just saying that as a grown person, I'm not going to try to play the victim card and say, oh, woe is me. My life was so hard growing up because as a child, other kids said mean things to me, right? And I think that it is refreshing to see Shannon Sharpe be the voice of reason instead of playing the victimhood card with her, right? Actually trying to rationalize and say, hey, you know, this happened among kids, right? This is a pretty normal thing among kids. And he's actually going to do that again when this woman goes into another story about how she believes that her teacher was racist because her teacher got upset about her trying to correct her teacher.
He's like, so what are we here for? And she's like, well, you know, she corrects me in front of the class. And these three black people are like, here we go with this racist bullshit, you know, because that's really what it is. We're in Florida in the 80s and the 90s. And
but let me ask you this.
Okay.
Do you think she would have felt equally as offended if a white kid, because I'm assuming this teacher was white, right? Mm-hmm. If a white child would have corrected her, I think most teachers would feel some type of way if a child corrects them.
That's not for me to surmise. I'm just saying that my experience was this lady giving wrong information.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to correct her. Now, this is the same lady who tried to accuse me of stealing. And when a white girl said, no, Amanda didn't steal it, I did, she was like, well, I think both of you need to go to the principal.
Right.
I am in Orlando, Florida, which is a notoriously racist state, Florida, in the 90s. And I'm talking to you about a white woman who is speaking about black people, indigenous people in a country where those same indigenous people have had all of their land taken from them by former criminals that were sent there from England. And she is calling them Stone Age people. And I, as a black girl, the only black girl in her class, am correcting her.
But my thing is, you're right. She possibly misspoke or she didn't know.
I guess my question to you is, why do you even feel compelled at this juncture in this interview? Why would you even feel compelled to try to?
Because because I'm not defending. But my thing is that what I'm trying to say, most adults, when kids correct them or speak, feel some type of way. This is not unique to a black, white, or white, black. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm sorry that you took it that way. But I remember when I was growing up, my grandparents and parents said, hey, kids, stay in your place. Adults are speaking. That's all. Maybe that didn't happen where you were from in Orlando, Florida. But where I grew up when I grew up, kids did not correct adults. So I apologize if you thought it came off as combative.
No problem.
Let's get into your acting. You've been at
Facts. Again, it's kind of crazy when Shannon Sharpe is the voice of reason in the conversation, okay? Because basically what he says is that, look, just because the teacher had an issue with you correcting her, that doesn't mean that she had the issue because she's racist, right? You're trying to say that the teacher is racist simply because she had a problem with something that you did. And this happens so much among black people. And I notice this all the time in just like casual conversations where black people will accuse a white person of being racist because of some type of microaggression that they don't like. Like, for example, you know, I've heard this one a lot where, you know, if you're black and you have white neighbors and the white neighbors don't say good morning or they don't speak to you when they see you, okay, casually, you know, walking out of the house or whatever, going to work, then therefore that must be some form of racism, right? They might be racist. And I'm like, that doesn't mean they're racist. Maybe they just don't care to speak, right? Maybe they just don't care to, you know, say anything, right? And maybe it's not a racial thing. Maybe they just don't want to interact. Maybe they're not very social people, okay? And they could very well not do that with their white neighbors or any neighbor that they don't know. I don't think that it's a black-white thing, or put it this way, I don't think you should automatically assume that it's a black and white thing. Maybe you should try to make other assumptions before you automatically come to the assumption of racism, okay? And I think that's one of the biggest issues that we have is that people default to, well, this person did something to me that I don't like or said something to me that I don't like, therefore it must be racist. It reminds me of the video I did not too long ago about Maxine Waters. In an interview, she admitted the quiet part out loud, which is that, well, anybody that disagrees with what I do as a congresswoman and you confront me about it, it's because you're racist, right? It's because you're racist. This is what she said. So you know, you see that victimhood complex here show up in his interview with this woman, and then you have people going after Shannon Sharpe for being a rational individual, okay, and saying maybe that's not it. Maybe, just maybe, she had a problem with the fact that you are a child trying to correct her as a teacher while she's trying to teach.
People like, I was trying to invalidate her experience. No, I wasn't. It's the same thing I told Monique when Monique said, I was trying to get this role, and Oprah told me to go blah, blah, blah for,
right.
And she ended up getting the role. I said, well, Monique, did you ever think that they were looking for a black heavyset woman, and you two were probably the only two in Hollywood? And she said, oh, okay, that makes sense. Right. And so when she said the white lady had her teacher, I said, Amanda, did it ever cross your mind that, I don't know where you from, but where I grew up, Ocho, kids never corrected a parent or an adult.
Corrected?
Yes. And that's what I said. I said, Amanda, did you think maybe because you were a child, even though you were right, the mere fact that a child corrected an adult. Now, maybe in today's time, that's fine. Maybe where in some places you grew up. But I don't ever remember being in a situation, a child couldn't even interrupt an adult conversation. You couldn't pull on your parents or your grandparents' leg and say, hey. I'm like, huh? No. So that's what I was saying. I said, maybe, Amanda, it wasn't racism. Maybe it was the fact that a child was correcting an adult. But that was her experience. That's what, and like I said, I mean, that's how she felt about it.
Yeah. So you have Shannon Sharpe, who's woke, being a rational human being, okay? I just wish that Shannon applied this same type of rationale and logic and reasoning to his understanding of the Candace Owens situation with the Daily Wire, okay? Her leaving that platform. And now, you know, you have a bunch of people coming out and claiming that, well, Candace Owens is trying to run back to the black community, right? And I'm not sure we should accept her because she has been against us and she hasn't been for her people.
Sometimes, and it's happened before, people in our community forget that they're black. And they try to appease a group of people that's probably never going to embrace them. And once they realize that, guess who's the first group to take them back?
I don't know her.
You know, I ain't say nobody's name, Amanda. You don't even know who I'm talking about.
I don't know.
How you know who I'm talking about? But we've seen this happen before. Rest his soul, O.J. Simpson. You know, he had the famous quote, I'm O.J., I ain't black. Even Michael Jackson went through what he went through, rest his soul.
Right.
Even Kanye had to be reminded. And now Miss Owens, I don't want no black pilots, I don't want this, I don't want that. And now we can't keep off our black media stations. When before she gave us her butt to kiss. Now, if I'm lying, if I'm speaking out of turn, people, y'all correct me. But y'all know I'm telling the truth. Now, you're talking about somebody that's always uplifted this community. And I was one of the first guys that had a viral moment with Cat Williams. And they couldn't wait. They couldn't wait to attack me. But Candace has given y'all her butt to kiss for 2 decades. And the moment, what they doing? They can't fire me. They can't fire me. The hell you say? Now look at her.
It's not her fault.
Whose fault is it? Oh, no. Let's not take that blame.
Let her back in.
Huh?
The spaces that let her back in.
Oh, okay. But that's how we are. We're very forgiving people.
Who taught us to be that?
We do.
Who taught us that version of forgiveness? Do I need to do the lesson?
No, because I know.
Them slave owners taught us that version of forgiveness. They gave us a Bible called the Slave Bible. And this Bible had parts of it taken out. It had the parts of uprisings taken out. It taught about forgiveness because they needed to make it okay in their minds.
No matter how bad I treat you, at some point in time, I need you to forgive me for the wrongs I've done against you.
Yeah, so you see, now you heard that. Now, that conversation is extremely annoying to me for multiple reasons. One, because Shannon Sharpe made the false claim that Candace said that she doesn't want black pilots, which is not true. She never said that. Okay, she said that we should not have pilots that are being hired based off their skin color, okay, or to fulfill some type of diversity quota. Those are two different things, right? But what really bothers me about this is that there's this perception among the woke revolutionaries on the internet that Candace Owens is running back to the black community because I guess she got kicked out of the white community, right? And it is just not true, right? It is a false narrative that is very annoying to me because these people, first and foremost, are trying to claim that Candace Owens is somehow betraying her own people because she's not liberal, right? Because she has conservative viewpoints and that she's critical of black people and black culture. Therefore, she's not for her own people. When I can make the argument that the people who are actually really not for black people are the black people that support and rationalize a culture that we all know is destructive towards black people, right? If you're coming out and you're critical of a destructive culture that is destroying your people, I would argue that you care more about your people than the people that don't speak out about it and don't care about the fact that black people are destroying each other, right? I mean, Candace Owens is against abortion, which is the biggest killer of black people besides other black people murdering each other, right? And Candace Owens is against that as well, too. So, again, if you want to make that argument and you want to play that game about who's for black people, who's not for black people, I would actually make the argument that the black progressives are the most anti-black individuals in politics, and those are the people that really have forgotten that, hey, you're black, while they're trying to please their white liberal, white progressive handlers, right? If you really want to go there. But this idea that Candace is running back to the black community is just ridiculous, okay? Because first and foremost, she's not begging to be on their platform or to be a part of their platform permanently. It just so happens that up until now, because of the dissatisfaction with the Biden administration, black conservatives are being allowed on these platforms, okay? Because before, people like Candace Owens, because she is seen as anti-black, she ain't really black, they would not platform her at all because they don't want black people to be exposed to black conservatives, okay? But again, you have certain stations, like, for example, The Breakfast Club, Charlamagne the God Show. Charlamagne the God is dissatisfied with the Democrat Party, and because of that, he's opened up his mind. Now, despite being a black progressive, again, he has opened up his mind to black conservatives and is willing to listen. And I think that these black platforms, all of a sudden now allowing people like Candace Owens to come on their platforms to have a conversation, that is happening at a time in which Candace was having problems with the Daily Wire. I think that it's more of a coincidence that all these things were happening at the same time, but I just find it funny how these people are running with this narrative that somehow, some way, oh, Candace Owens is trying to come back to black people because she got fired by Daily Wire. And it's like, I don't think that's it. First and foremost, she's always been black, right? And her political viewpoints haven't changed, okay? She didn't go to the Breakfast Club and start saying, oh, I was wrong, okay, and start, supporting Joe Biden and spouting out liberal points of view. No, she went on the platform and talked about conservatism, talked about being a conservative, right? Talked about Trump, okay? So again, I'm not sure exactly where this narrative is coming from, but what you can see here is that these people, they really don't believe in platforming black conservatives. They believe that black conservatives aren't really black, and that they should not be allowed on these black platforms if they step out of line and say things that don't agree with the left-wing agenda. So I found this interview between Shannon Sharpe and Amanda Seales to be fascinating for various reasons. Despite Shannon Sharpe being a voice of reason, as this woman boohoo whines and cries fake victimhood, you can still see that he still fails to be that voice of reason when it comes to people like Candace Owens and black conservatives, in the sense that he fails to see the flaw in his thinking that just because you're not a liberal or progressive, that doesn't mean that you're not black or that you've forgotten that you're black or that you're not a part of the black community, right? Just because you are a black conservative, that doesn't mean that you're not a legitimate black voice for black people, or you don't represent a certain segment of black people in regards to viewpoints within the community. So again, I found this interview to be very, very, very interesting. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.